As the Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Bill 1975, as the notice of this meeting has been provided in the following manner, the annual notice was forwarded to the Asbury Press and posted in the Star Ledger on January 15, 2025, and posted on the bulletin board the same day. All notices are on file to see. We're now on special event application for Recreation Director, Alicia Ford.
Mayor and Council, we have three returning applications before you. Any questions? Thank you.
We are now to a presentation for redevelopment of Block 4201, lots 2, 6, and 7, 201 6th Avenue, 1509 and 1511 Kingsley Street by Asbury Park Apartments and Resort LLC.
Wait 1 second. Let me do this. Because after we're done with the presentation, we're going to go to public comments. So why don't we get anything from mayor and council out of the way so we can go right from the presentation to public comment. Are you got a problem with that?
Okay, we'll start Councilmember Anderson.
Oh, I'm just saying good evening to all of you. It's happy to see you. And you know, Friday is Valentine's, so make sure you have a happy one. And if someone doesn't bring you some sweets or a flower, buy one for yourself. Love yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cleveland. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Quinn. Mayor Moore.
No.
Thank you.
City manager and attorney.
Nothing.
Thank you. All right. We're now to a presentation by Asbury Park Apartments and Resort LLC.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, and members of the public. My name is Kevin Kennedy. I'm an attorney with an office in Red Bank. I'm here tonight on behalf of my client, Asbury Apartments and Resort LLC. For the record, Andy Karras and I are privileged to jointly serve as co-counsel for this client. However, Mr. Karras is not able to be here tonight. He sends regards. So my client is a hopeful subsequent developer and is in the process of going through the city's nuanced waterfront redevelopment process. Typically, as you all know very, very well, a subsequent developer application is submitted, technical review committee meeting is scheduled, there's an informal presentation to the city council, and then if endorsed, we are then authorized to go to the next step to negotiate a subsequent developer agreement and hopefully process the city process of ordinance designating the client, the applicant, as the subsequent developer. We have been respectfully on a bit of a merry-go-round here, and we're looking to get back on track, and with your hopeful support and architectural endorsement tonight. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to, like 2 minutes, just to explain where we've been, how we got here, where we want to go, and hopefully the process after tonight. So first up, I want to thank Michelle Alonso and staff. They've always been very helpful and very pleasant. And secondly, though not statutorily required, I understand the City Council has expressed a preference, a desire for even greater transparency than what the city requires. So against that backdrop, we arranged for notice in accordance with the city's established special procedure for this, and I submitted a confirming affidavit of publication and certification. And as I said before, for what it's worth, I applaud the city's continued commitment to even extra transparency beyond what this statute calls for. We've identified the properties, and by way of very brief background, as you all know, this is the site that previously hosted the Oceanic Motel. Now, obviously, motels are very important purposes in life and in society, but from a zoning standpoint, they can be a little intense and presumably not permitted or presumably a pre-existing non-conforming use. My client recently became owners of the property, and as I understand, the Oceanic Motel was a fairly distressed use in terms of some long-term claims and quality of life issues. And my client became owner of the property and arranged for the demolition. Now, there's a legal standpoint, sometimes a legal strategy, sometimes people say, oh, don't demolish it, but to my credit to my client's had a no-nonsense attitude and arranged for that to be developed because he thought that was better for the city. So I applaud that decision. Also, once the structure was demolished, just again, not that this is relevant, but my client basically let some other developers use the site as staging. Sure. Okay, is that better? Okay, thank you. And so when the structure was demolished, my client allowed some other developers to use the site as a staging ground for other approved construction. And just, as you know, by its very nature, construction can be sometimes inconvenient for the public in terms of truck, traffic, machinery. So anyway, in some small part, I thank my client for allowing to minimize some public inconvenience by allowing that site to be utilized as a staging ground. So now, for the relevant subsequent developer history with this file, we previously submitted a subsequent developer application, and we had a technical review committee meeting probably a year and a half ago. I'll call that TRC meeting number 1. And it was successful. We were authorized to go to the next step, which is a presentation before the very city council. And we appeared before you all in formal presentation, and I think there was some requests for modifications, and modifications were made, and ultimately we received the endorsement to go forward to have start the commencement of the subsequent developer negotiation process, and I believe the draft agreement has been prepared. However, an issue was subsequently raised regarding a claim that because of a potential need for a technical variance, there was a claim that perhaps the TRC meeting should have been noticed. And there was a concern that we should go to the TRC again. So we on our side didn't really agree with that, but obviously in the spirit of moving forward and in the spirit of complying, wanting to comply with city's established procedure, and notwithstanding timing sensitivities, we agreed to reappear before the TRC. And we appeared before the TRC, I think it was June 24th of 2024. And in conjunction with that, the plans were actually even revised. So anyway, we're coming, so here we are tonight, coming back to you for a presentation on the architectural integrity or architectural elements. And respectfully, in many ways, the City Council has already endorsed the prior architectural rendering. There have been some changes, but as my applicants or witnesses will testify, not so much architectural changes from what you all previously saw and endorsed, but rather some changes with the yard, and we'll go into that, and reductions and things. So we are hoping, since we've already presented to this governing body, we're hoping that we addressed your concerns, and we're hoping, respectfully requesting, that we would again receive your informal endorsement to take it to the next level. That's the overall story. I have 2 witnesses tonight. One is Yohei Aldo, who is the member of the LLC. He's not really going to testify unless you all have questions for him. And I have our architect here, Dan Zanetto, who will go through what we previously submitted, what changes, and he's going to go through the various changes and what we're presenting tonight. So in conclusion, just for my introduction, we are committed, my client is committed to the city of Asbury Park. The client is committed to developing. The client is committed to developing in accordance with the waterfront redevelopment plan. The client is anxious to become, hopefully become a subsequent, appointed subsequent developer. We're anxious to proceed to the planning board. We're excited to build and develop, and we're excited to hopefully operate this facility in the great city of Asbury. So, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'll introduce Yohei Aldo, and I'll have Dan Zanetto, our architect, present information to you, if that's acceptable. Okay. So Yohei, why don't you just, where is Yohei? This is Gary, he's one of the principals of the entity, and this is Dan. Why don't you just introduce yourself?
Daniel Zemetto with Mocha Architects.
Now, I know this is an informal presentation. Do you want me to go through his qualifications or anything, or just have them? Okay. So Dan, why don't you we talked earlier today, and we've talked the last several weeks. Why don't you just give a brief overview of what the project is, and from an architectural standpoint, what changes we made? I know there were some changes based upon TRC, there were some changes from the city council informally, and there were some negotiations with some neighbors. So why don't you just go through everything so that the city council has and the public has a good idea of how we got here.
Sure, thank you. Can everyone hear me? Hello?
And just so the public knows, this is a conceptual taking a temperature presentation, nothing's getting voted on tonight. Just FYI.
Thank you, and that's an excellent point, Deputy Mayor, and we did specifically put in the notice that no official action would be taken. Thank you.
Everybody's standing, there's plenty of seats up here if you want to sit down.
Yeah,
That's why I'm up here. Over here.
Okay, can everyone hear me now? All right, then quickly, I'll just kind of introduce the project, give a little bit of background. I'll go through some of the floor plans, the renderings that we put together, and then I'll highlight some of the changes that we've made on the project over the last 2 years. So first, just to kind of orient yourself to the site, you can look at the large map here. You see the ocean front there. The project is located just north of Convention Hall, and it's bounded by Kingsley, Webb Street, 6th Ave, and 7th Ave. To highlight the statistics of the project, there's 94 total dwelling units, 2 of them 1 bedroom, 49 2 bedroom, 43 3 bedroom. It's a total of 8 stories, 114 feet, and we're providing 152 parking spaces. Walking through the plans quickly, on the left is the lower level parking. So the main area of the building is a parking field that will have stacked parking, automated parking, and there's also space for bike storage and handicap parking as well, the elevator lobby in the corner. Now, each of the, we'll call them townhouse buildings, which are the kind of outbuildings on the wings of the site here, they all have access to this parking garage as well. Everything is kind of connected underground here. And moving on to the first floor, there's also a second level of parking on the first floor. And we have amenity spaces, fitness, community room, lobby space, and there's a few apartments as well. And then we want to highlight the totals here. The self-parking, we have 92 parking spaces on the lower level, 60 parking on the first floor, a total of 152 parking spaces. And we're meeting all the requirements of the waterfront redevelopment plan without taking any deduction for EV. Moving up through the building here, the second floor also has a pool deck and green roof courtyard that is accessed from the building. Also, all of the townhouse buildings are connected as well. Moving up through the typical floors, you can see we have a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom units. Okay, and just some of moving on to some of our renderings. This is a shot of the corner entry at Kingsley and 6th Ave. And Here, a nice shot showing kind of the overall building, some of the materials that we've picked here. We'll go into a little more detail later in the presentation. Another view, and you can just take note of how it aligns with the building across the street, the North Beach condos, the generous distance from the building to the curb. Okay. This is a view from Kingsley looking south, and this highlights how the mass of the building steps down from 8 stories to 4 stories and how it meets the adjacent building. A view looking east, also it's important to note the relationship to the building across Kingsley. This view is from the corner of Webb and 7th, looking southeast. You see the townhouse structure in the mid-block, adjacent to a new construction that has just recently been built. The relationship there, you can see how the front of the property line aligns with the construction. And again, just another view of our entry and how that's kind of recessed from the corner and how it will activate the street front with the lobby space beyond. Another view of Kingsley looking south. And finally, a view of the townhouse on 7th looking east. So just to highlight some of the changes that have happened to this plan since the last presentation to council and the initial TRC meeting, we've decreased the lot coverage. It previously exceeded 90%. We brought that down to about 86%. And by doing that, we increased the permeable area. The density has decreased. We're down to 94 units, previously 98 units. We've increased the parking count, previously 148, now 152. We've added indoor bike storage for 64 bicycles. We've added 5-foot side yards on Webb Street. We've added 5-foot side yards on 7th Ave. These changes were all based on discussions with neighbors and requests from council. So the 6-foot side yard was added on 6th Avenue to accommodate the neighbor requests and per city council requests. We recessed the building corner at the 1.5-story garage entry to preserve sight lines for the adjacent neighbor. And we removed balconies at the townhouse along Kingsley to accommodate the adjacent property owner. We've also reconfigured the pool amenity and green roof area to accommodate the adjacent property owner. And then lastly, revised facade design and materials per city council requests. So we'll go into a little bit more detail as okay about some of these changes. This diagram here on the left highlights the areas that have been added as far as setbacks and new green space. So overall, the footprint of the building has been reduced. We've added side yards at 7th Ave and at Webb Street and to the neighbor on 6th Ave. This slide here highlights the change on 6th Avenue. If you look at the top image, you'll see that the building has been pulled back. We did have a 4-story mass on the side of the building there that we have removed now, so it's now, everything is in line, and we have space for windows on that instead of just a blank facade, and we are giving a 6-foot yard on the side of the building to accommodate the neighbor. And we've also pushed back the garage entry to preserve sight lines, so that where the building meets the ground at the corner there is pushed back to align with the neighboring building. the front of that porch. This slide here is a diagram of the changes to the green roof area and the pool amenities. So there previously was a 2-story indoor pool and fitness center located above the green roof. And we've removed that entirely. The pool is now an outdoor pool. It's been relocated, pushed as close to our building as we could put it. And we've also taken away the rear balconies on the Kingsley townhouses, so that there's additional space between our building and the neighboring building behind. And then lastly, just to highlight some of the changes to the facade. We broke up the scale of the masts and the grid facade to break down the scale and make it more residential to represent the units that are behind the facade. We've incorporated more wood accents to give it a warmer feel, and we've changed the base color for the material down there to a lighter, warmer gray as opposed to the dark gray that was there previously. Now this rendering was what was also presented at the last time we presented to the city council, so this has already been viewed, and we were approved to move forward at that time. That's all we have. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We showed the utilities of lower parking level. Is that guaranteed? Because, I mean, that's utility natural gas on the utilities that that's where they're going to be.
The utilities are on the first floor. If you look at the plan, we have spaces kind of in the core of the building there. There's an electrical room.
I'm looking at page A0, it says overall lower parking level plan. And it has storage and utility, storage and utility, storage and utility.
Okay,
Storage and utility.
those are kind of placeholders for the storage areas for those townhouse spaces. But the main utilities for the building will be located on the first floor in those utility rooms.
And that's where
So those are really storage rooms that are marked on the lower level below the townhouses. And that space that could be for tenant storage and also additional life storage.
And you already got the okay from all the utility companies that that's where it's going to go. There'll be changes when they say, hey, you can't go there.
We'll have to coordinate that with the utilities.
So these are conceptual, and you have the action.
Conceptual locations for the utilities.
Okay. The stacked parking. Are you going to have a full-time attendant, or is it going to be up to the tenants to figure out how to do it?
It's a self parking lift system, correct?
It's a self-parking. It's activated by the
It's
person.
a push button kind of retrieve and lower your car.
So see, part of them says pit stackers, and some of them say stacker lift, so I guess I know what they are. The pit stacker's going to go down,
And the stagger lift goes up.
right? We had another project trying to put in pit stackers, and the DEP shut them down, saying they can't be built. Are you sure these can be built?
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, there's a flood elevation issues, but we're not moving the flood elevation. That would be something that would pose an issue. Additionally, these are self-park. They don't really require much.
Okay, I just wanted to put your attention. Someone else tried to do this.
Thank you.
And they made them still fall in the concrete. That's all the questions I have.
Go ahead.
Can you just show me the pictures again of the view corridors? Because in comparison to the houses, how far out is this building from the houses around it?
You go to the ground floor plan.
Pictures.
On the first floor plan, you can see kind of the gray box for the adjacent buildings.
So you, and I do want to say, I appreciate the amount of work that you guys have put into making changes to this project. So just for my edification, the view corridor is still blocked, right? The houses are still, the building still fronts out in front of the house.
Yes. No, the ground floor is pushed in. So these are the upper floors. Once we get past the 1.5 floor of the ground level, then the building comes back out to the property line.
Can you show me in a picture that?
If we go, that's Web Street. If we go to that slide that has like the yellow highlight. Keep going down. This is what Nope.
Can you enlarge that? And then go a little bit to my right. So I can see
Show
the
that.
house. So about how many inches, how many feet out from those houses is it?
We're 6 feet from our property line. I can't say for sure how far that is from the existing house, but they also have side yards, so it's probably greater than 6 feet.
I think the question is, will the porches have a side view, or will we look at the portions of the two houses?
The front of the parking entry aligns with the front of the porch.
So if I'm sitting on the porch, I'm gonna be looking at.
So if you're sitting on the porch and you look diagonally down the street towards the street is angled, you will have the same view towards the ocean that you would.
It doesn't look that way because from your photo, it looks as though the two homes are pushed back and the garage is forward, so it doesn't look that way.
Can you take me over to the apartment building with the balconies? I think it's 210. Okay, how much space is it between that building and the existing building now?
From our building to the building.
To the building with the mural on
Again, we have a 5 foot set yard, 5 foot
it? Is there
side
a
yard.
walkway or like a driveway there, or is it
No.
all just up against the balcony?
No, on the side of our building?
Yeah, on the side of the building with the mural.
No, there's no driveway there.
How much feet between those two buildings?
I don't have that exact number. I can tell you that we're 5 feet from our property line plus whatever the existing side yard of the existing building is.
Well, the complaint is that people are, essentially can pass to the next building a couple of blocks, right? They go out on their back. I mean, it looks that close, that's what I'm asking.
We very specifically did not put a balcony on that area. In addition, it's a complete 5 feet, in addition to their yard and their balcony. So I'm not sure.
But they have balconies.
So they have a yard and a balcony, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm asking,
we
how
use-
close is that to your building?
So they have a certain yard distance, it's about probably around 5 feet, but we have an additional 5 feet that we put on our property. So we shrunk our building by 5 feet on both sides to accommodate both these neighbors. So even though this is 0 lot line redevelopment plan, right, we specifically shrunk it, that was part of the things that we did. We shrunk it on both ends 5 feet. So we had a loss of total 10 feet frontage on the building in order to accommodate that further.
Are we saying that there's 10 feet between building on the left and the building on the right?
Yes.
Or 5 feet?
5 feet on my property, and there's even more than that on their property.
So this
There's probably 10 or more feet between us, yes.
And then also, I don't know if this is R4, but this color here, with this house. You're tearing it down. What is the distance between your building and that?
In this space, we're actually at the 0 lot.
Pardon me?
We're at the 0 lot line.
So I just want to understand what you're saying again. Between 210.7 and your building, you're saying is 10 feet?
Correct.
Okay, and there's what, grass there or a driveway there? Like what exists there?
Planted grass.
Grass.
For us, it's grass. For them, it's paved.
And then what we're also saying is because there's balconies currently on that side, that they're a few feet out. So that eats into your 10 feet.
Again, it's their law.
I'm not saying it's your balconies, I'm just trying to
Right.
understand.
Right.
I'm just trying to
The
understand.
distance.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a balcony to the building, I guess, I'm trying to figure out how much space these people have. No, less than 5 feet, is that a
No,
fair
it's
statement?
impossible to be less than 5 feet. We're
Okay,
talking on our
so
property.
minimum of 5 feet.
Yes.
And
Minimum 5 feet on our property, in addition to the fact that their balconies are not at the property line. They're not at the property line, their balconies. The balconies is set away. So there's an additional yard there, in addition to our.
And this also has the view cooler lock. I mean, I understand that you brought it in, and I appreciate that.
I'm not, my apologies. If I may ask you, keep on referencing view corridor.
Well, I'm not a planner, so I'm using layman's terms. When, as John Moore said, when you walk out onto your porch, can you look down the street? That is what I'm asking. And do you see the ocean or water, or do you see?
You will see the neighboring building,
Right.
which is built on the lot. So, okay, they won't see that neighboring building in this one. But what we did was we set it back so that there is some sort of an angled view for it. That is a
I don't
check.
know what an angled view means. What's that?
Angled view means we open it up so that there isn't a wall coming right at you, right next to you, to your height of your porch. So we pulled it in and pulled it away. So that when they come to the porch, they do have an angled view towards the street and it's not shadowy. That was something that we went with the city council the first time.
Okay. But if I walk out and I look, I see a building. That's the
Yes,
first thing
you
I
will see a building.
Okay. On both sides, on both 6 and 7. I mean, I'm just gonna be on the side, I don't love that, right? I said I don't love that.
No, I think, what do we see, what's next?
Was there a mistake?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna go right to the public session, you guys.
Do you mind if I sit here?
Oh, absolutely, please do. We're gonna need the microphone.
We're now on to public participation. I have a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor? The public participation portion of the meeting is now open. Any member of the public who wishes to speak, please use the microphone, state your name and address for the record. And there will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Please note, ordinances 2025 1 through 4 will be tabled tonight.
Good. This, we need your name and address first.
Good evening, my name is Susan Macias. My address is 6038 Drive in Atlantic Highlands. However, I am representing Food and Water Watch. With more than 2 million supporters, Food and Water Watch fights for sustainable food, clean water, and a livable climate for all of us. You have helped us in the past by supporting our climate efforts, specifically by passing a resolution to stop the proposed KC power plant in Woodridge. With your support, we were successful in stopping this polluting project. We are once again asking for your help. The New Jersey legislature will be considering the Superfund Act, S 3545 and A 4696, a bill that would force polluters to pay for the damage they cause to our environment. The bill has already been passed by the State Senate Committee. It is similar to bills already passed by the states of New York and Vermont. As a coastal community, you know better than most that Asbury Park is vulnerable to the effects of climate change. If passed, any municipality in need of climate change adaptation and resilience projects would be able to apply for the funds raised by the act. This is a great opportunity for Asbury Park to support a bill that would provide funding at no cost to your taxpayers. Will you support this bill by resolution at your next city council meeting? I have included a summary document and a draft resolution for your consideration that I'll make available after the meeting. Many thanks in advance, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, and we got this late this afternoon, and I asked Anthony to call you and say, hey, we're gonna do this, you don't have to come out tonight in the cold weather. But we appreciate all you do for that.
Thank you, and we appreciate the support that Asbury Park gives us all the time, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Cucinato. I live at 206 Avenue. Thank you for this opportunity to give comments. So there are so many issues with this plan that are inconsistent with the Bradley plan and the waterfront redevelopment plan that I can only touch upon the most egregious. The proposed structure will destroy the airflow and sight lines of the homes to the west. It will aggravate the flooding that is already a problem in this area. It will add more concrete and fewer spaces for trees to thrive and add another heat island area to the city maps. My home was built by Edward Stroud in 1894. 2 years later, Edward built a house at 207 6th Avenue. The blocks west of our home have many original historic homes. So it's a very beautiful area of the city. The waterfront redevelopment plan indicates that whatever is built should fit into the neighborhood. The first objective on page 9 is to preserve the character and history of Asbury Park. Page 63 of the plan indicates that frontages of the new building shall be harmonious with the block face on both sides of the street. The proposed plan is neither harmonious or consistent with this mandate. Its height and design totally do not respect the historic view of the residential neighborhood. The redevelopment allowances to height, as illustrated on page 70 of the waterfront redevelopment plan, only apply to full block development. For full block development, the plan requires a reduction of 4 stories halfway up the block. This lot is actually there's originally 6 lots on this block, and they have 4 of them. So there must be a reduction down to 4 blocks on 6th Avenue. The density of this building for the given lot size does not make sense. It also is far from what anyone would consider luxury accommodations. There is railroading through at least there was in the last plan, railroading through the bedrooms. The proposed 94 units with approximately 230 bedrooms on 4 city lots will totally change the relaxed vibe of this neighborhood. Contrast this to 240 bedrooms that make up the Asbury Ocean Club. The Ocean Club consists of a full city block and is 16 stories high. They are proposing squashing almost the same density in this little area. Also, the Ocean Club has 411 parking spots that don't require stacking. That will be a problem if there's a power outage. And I'm running out of time. I know, but anyway, I think that there's problems with flooding, there's problems with parking. This area is where people are parking the main street if they live in this area in the summertime. It's a problem. I thank you for your consideration. I think that this plan just needs to be totally reworked. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on 1 second, don't start that. Michelle, how high, what is the redevelopment plan call for on this lot? Is it 8 stories?
Certain parts can be 8, but others have to drop down to 4. The amendment in 2019 gives the discretion to the planning board to determine where the breaks are. The original plan shows on the height map sections that can be 8 and the sections that can be 4. But the amendment that we passed in 2019 lets the planning board determine where the height breaks. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay. All right. Hello, my name is Mark Cucinato. I live at 209 6th Avenue. I have 17 reasons for objecting to the proposed building plans. However, I'm only going to present the top 9. First one being 95 residential units for this footprint is too dense. There's 8 stories and 114 feet. It's too high for this residential area. All the other development in the area has limited themselves to 4, maybe 5 stories. Nothing on this side of Kingsley is 8 stories, and it should be 8 stories. How does striping result in 3 additional parking spaces, according to the plan? 152 parking spots is not adequate for 95 or 94 residential units. Most of the other developments are providing at least 2 parking spots per unit. The other thing is there's only one or two one-bedrooms, and there's a lot of 2 bedrooms and a lot of 3 bedrooms. There's got to be some more parking for those additional housing bedroom units. While the master plan allows for some larger numbers, that's for bulk requirements which are not in play here, because they're not taking up the full block. Lack of setbacks from road right of way restricts airflow, sunlight, and view for the existing full tax-paying residents in the area. And everything downstream of not just us, but everybody inland will suffer. 44 pit stackers and 30 stack lifters are just a disaster waiting to happen. The drawings R5 and R6 clearly illustrate how out of proportion the new project's dimensions are compared to the existing building. I ask that this plan not be approved. I would ask that you require the developer to present something that is more respectful to the existing full-paying taxpayers and residents in the area. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Roger Mumford. I'm a developer. Recently completed the resident, and I've met with Joe on a number of occasions, not more recently. If I may, can I come to the screen, please? Yes, in 3 minutes, so I can walk more high. Okay, so there's a lot of deceptive stuff here. For example, I met with Yohei to make sure that this area would not be more than 4 stories. His first floor, because of the stacked parking, is 1.5 stories. And when you look on 7th Avenue, you'll see the same thing. You'll see the rhythm, which is muted for whatever reason. And then the building next door is the same number of stories, but it's 1 story taller. This is really 5 stories. Yohei, you've got to drop this 10 feet, or you're blocking everything you said you would do.
You're
Okay?
building incorrect.
Okay, it's not incorrect. The second thing is, can I see the floor? Can I see the floor plan quickly, sir? Because there's no color pictures in terms of aerials, drone shots, or anything that would give this audience the feel of just how utterly preposterous this whole thing is. So can I see the floor plan, please? Okay. So because this building isn't very deep, the units, we call them railroad. You go in and it's bedroom, bedroom, bedroom. Is this just a pure rental, or is it for sale? Sorry, because all I'm saying. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, well, I've never seen a for sale product like this in my life. You know, maybe in Panama City. But the reality is that this floor plan, if anybody blows it up and looks at it, you're going to find my building has only 2.5, 3 times, this one is 2 or 3 times the volume. But I've got 14 units and 28 bedrooms and a spectacular building. This is preposterous. And over the winter, with Michelle Alonso and others, weekly I was on calls about, Roger, you can't move the electric even though the utility company determines everything. The builder has no choice in it. And I said, why is it that we're on a building that I'm building that's a jewel? Why is it that we're torturing me when you're considering an 8 or 10 story building? They said, oh, but that's a different time. So I'm here tonight to say, well, it's upon us. And when people see the separation, it's going to be unbelievable. And I'm going to get my stuff together. I'm going to come in with a real presentation. And I will be here at every meeting as long as it takes to make sure this building is never built. Thank you.
We've had this problem before. Can you get me from floor to ceiling, for every building, the 4 story and the 8 story, what the feed is? So is it 9 feet, is it 12 feet, is it 13 feet? What he's saying, we've had a problem before.
Okay.
Where it's like 16 feet and we're considering that 1 story.
Dan, do you know the information offhand, or is that something you want to get back?
I have to get back to you.
What would that information?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gloria Peretti, and my address is 305 6th Avenue. I've been a full-time resident since 2014. My house was built in 1894, and it's a historic Victorian. I am writing this letter to ask that you take into consideration the negative impacts of the proposed project at 201 6th Avenue, 1509, and 1511 English Street. To begin with, 6th Avenue consists mainly of 2- and 3-story buildings. The proposed project is 8 stories high and does not fit with the character of this residential block. The proposed project will create a massive increase of vehicular traffic on this residential street. It's already increased significantly ever since the traffic pattern was changed on Sunset Avenue. Vehicles driving east towards the beach can't drive straight to Ocean Avenue, so they turn onto Webb Street and wind up on 6th Avenue. During the summer months, it's even worse. The proposed structure appears to extend out more onto the sidewalk than North Beach. This will impede airflow and block the ocean view enjoyed by many residents, including myself. The proposed project is out of proportion with the quiet north end. The recently completed Raylan condominiums on 7th Avenue is more to scale for the area. The new Pulte Homes project on Kingley Street near 6th Avenue is 3 stories and blends with the neighborhood. In addition to the above, the height of the proposed project will restrict sunlight, thus creating more shadow on 6th Avenue and surrounding streets. A more comprehensive study should be made available to the public pertaining on how a 114-foot tall structure will affect sunlight and airflow. 18 other projects in town that I've researched are in the 3, 4, and 5 stories high. The addition of 94 units for the proposed project will automatically and continuously create more car traffic, more sanitation trucks, more delivery trucks on a residential street. Although the waterfront redevelopment plan was adopted in the early 2000s, the proposed project is not in line with the original Bradley plan, where avenues were designed in such a way as to maximize airflow and minimize the obstruction of ocean views. The developer, Asbury Luxury Apartments and Resorts LLC, wishes to build a tall, high-density structure to maximize the profits.
Finish your paragraph, and if you have somebody else with you, you can pass on. There you go.
Or what's your address again?
305 6th Avenue.
I'm Ben Hall, 307 6th Avenue, Gloria's neighbor. The developer, Asbury Luxury Apartments and Resort LLC, wishes to build a tall, high-density structure to maximize their profits. I get it. I understand capitalism. However, I also believe the developer is not taking into consideration how this project will negatively affect the neighborhood and its residents. Please take the above issues into consideration, as this massive development will fundamentally change the lives, character, and quality of life of the quiet Upper Bank. In closing, I want to say that just because you can doesn't mean you should. Thank you, Gloria Ready, February 12, 2025, and that all. And I would just echo the comments of my neighbors as well. They were saying what I live next door to all. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Good evening, Timothy B. Middleton. I'm an attorney in Wall Township. I represent Mrs. Farkas, who happen to live at 207 6th Avenue, which is the house adjacent to the 8-story building to the west. they are impacted by far the most of this proposal. I'm going to raise essentially two issues. One is the lack of compatibility, the lack of sensitivity to my clients in the proposal. I'm also going to address the intensity of the proposal, and I'll do that using objective numbers. Regarding the compatibility, the building is proposed to be 6 feet from my client's property. Put that in perspective, I'm 6 foot. That table is about 6 foot, the white table up front. 6 feet. The building's 114 feet high. It's 8 stories, not including mezzanine. Does that show sensitivity? Does that show compatibility? They applauded themselves tonight because it was 0 feet, but now that's 6 feet. So they, I think that's preposterous. Number two, in terms of compatibility, before 2018, the developer was required to develop a whole block. So I like some other situations in Atlantic City or New York City. Developer would come in, develop a whole block, and we would have issues where single-family residences were being really overwhelmed with an 8-story building. Views, that was an interesting comment from the architect. I.e. that the views of my client would not be impacted. I assure you as the following, my clients here. We spoke with Mr. Kennedy in the summer, very good, great to deal with. His client would have put a yellow tape where the building would be after the double back. If he sits on his porch, he sees nothing but the building. If he walks down the steps and looks up, he can see the street. All these views are blocked from the house and the porch, and certainly the ocean views are blocked. And I defy them to come forward with an accurate portrayal of that, of where the building is relative to our porch and house. And the only way you do it is you have to take a shot from west to east to show exactly where the building is and where it's impacting my client. Finally, in terms of intensity, anybody can just come up and say, hey, I think it's too intense. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use objective criteria. The applicant is developing 51% of the block. And I want to put that in perspective.
We're going to have to let your client finish the reading.
Sure.
Hi, William Vargas, 207 6th Ave. I've been a homeowner in town in the city since 2013. We purchased 207 6th Ave in 2020, and the city approved plans for us to restore the house, and I think my wife did a phenomenal job. She unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. So what I have here is a presentation that just, it's a informal presentation, but it just goes through some numbers and ratios, and I would like to bring up to the council.
We'll get into the end so you usually comment.
Yeah, no, I don't. So basically, the block, the applicant is the applicant's property is approximately 51% of the block, just over half, and they are looking at taking. Where's our numbers here? So they're taking up over 2/3, and yes. So based on 143 units per the redevelopment plan, they should have about approximately 73 units on their 51% of the block. I think there's also some logic here. Yeah, they're proposing 94, but I think there's some logic here that if the city was okay with 209 and 207 restoring those houses, our homes. How does this fit in with the neighborhood per the redevelopment plan of the North Shore redevelopment plan? So that I just think there's a little bit of logic here of like, what kind of precedent do we want to set here? Are we setting like this stacked parking, high density, next to these homes that are historic, that were built in the early 1900s, 1800s. And so I just think that, you can see through this, there's all kinds of ratios here that just seem preposterous, but, at the end of the day, it's, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and there's a pool in a 100-foot building that's gonna be next to a pool that you guys approved that we're gonna start construction on in March. So, we're trying to do, have a nice house. We understand we're in a redevelopment zone, but at the end of the day, this doesn't make sense. Pulte did a nice stacked townhome project. A Manion, I know it's not really announced, but 7th to 8th Ave block, I've seen some plans. I happen to be in the real estate business, and they've got a really nice product that they're putting over there. And it's a lot nicer than we proposed adjacent to us. But yeah, so, thank you.
Denise Nadell, 209 6th Avenue. I've lived there now several months, and I just want to tell you that that neighborhood is pristine. You see the same people walking down the street every day with their pets. And it's a neighborhood. This is going to be a massive wall, completely separating the two houses from the beachfront. That doesn't make any sense to me. Also, the other issue is the parking is going to be on 6th Avenue, the entrance. We're not talking about how much traffic is going to go in and out of that street. I just can't see how it can handle it the way the street is designed. And that's another big issue. So, ditto to what everyone else said, and I hope that this project does not go through. Thank you.
Can you just show me a picture where the rhythm is in comparison to this building?
Yeah.
The rhythm on this plan is the
And you don't have a picture of it on the seventh
I
side?
think we do.
That's the one that's 5 feet apart.
There it is.
Okay.
Just point it out.
Oh, the one that's faded?
Yeah.
So just for my edification again, between the rhythm and your building, how much space is there?
They built their property all the way 10 feet from their lot line. They'll build 5 stories all the way in. And what's in my backyard is just 1.5 stories for the parking. I'm permitted 3. We specifically reduced it. We used to have the amenity space there, and then we removed it for them. So essentially, he's using my backyard as his backyard, because he has only 10 feet between the back of his building and his property. The original intent is that he's within the zoning area that he's allowed 8 stories. It's supposed to be 8 stories and 3 stories in the back, right? He very specifically built a 5-story structure all the way to the back, and an average height of 11.6 feet for his floors. And it goes all the way, stretches all the way to the back, and left only 10 feet in the rear. And then he came to me with this request, I need my windows to see and so forth. So that's where we removed, that's where that diagram that Daniel showed before, we removed the amenity space. So we have a 1.5 story in the back there, but besides that, he gets the entire view of my green roof. And in addition, that he is built on the property line versus relationship with the properties.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Kathy Hurwitz. I live at 313 6th Avenue, historic house on the block just west of this proposed development. I would like to reiterate that I agree with everything that my neighbors have spoken about earlier. And just talk about the scale and how wrong it is for this neighborhood. It's ignoring pretty much everything around it. And it seems like it just is plopped down in a spot that it shouldn't be. The north side is different, and west of Kingsley is different and should be treated that way and approached that way. And I think it's really, it stings us as homeowners and people who respect the neighborhood. And it's clear that this project does not respect the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kylie Mandel, and I live on Orchard Drive in Reading, but I'm a social work intern with the Asbury School District. We thank the council for all they do for Asbury. Today I want to speak about Asbury's status as a sanctuary city, meaning that there are policies which limit local law enforcement cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. It of course does not mean that law enforcement in Asbury interferes with organizations like ICE, but that they do provide certain info to ICE without warrants. An example of these kind of policies at the state level is, as of November 2018, the Attorney General of New Jersey issued the Immigrant Trust Directive, which prohibits NJ police officers from participating in federal immigration raids, as well as prohibits them from stopping, questioning, arresting, searching, or detaining individuals based solely on actual or suspected immigration status. This directive is still in place regardless of who is the president. This is an amazing protection for those in our community and state, but I want to bring our attention to the designation federally of certain locations deemed as sensitive, meaning immigration enforcement should not take place here. These are places like bus stops, college campuses, churches, medical facilities, and schools. On January 21st, Acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Benjamin Huffman issued a directive which rescinds this designation of sensitive areas, thereby permitting ICE to take actions near schools or even inside schools if producing certain warrants. We're seeing the effects of these policies right now in Asbury Park, and I'm sure many of you, if not directly impacted, are feeling the fear for yourself, your family, and our community. Recently, a parent was dropping off their child at Bradley Elementary School, and upon returning home was detained by ICE. The fear of these authorities has a documented impact on attendance in schools when the family members of students are undocumented or even fear being profiled as such based on their appearance. We have noticed higher rates of absenteeism since Trump's election in the Asbury School District across all 4 schools. This data is currently being compiled by the Central Office Administration of Asbury School District to see really the clear impact on all of these schools. And all that is to say, I'm requesting today for more information from the City Council as to what ordinances have been passed that affirm Asbury Park as a sanctuary city. And if they are publicly available, I may have missed them from the website and looking over, so that could be my fault. But making those more well known. And my second thing is that you make these ordinances known and or pass one similar to other sanctuary cities in New Jersey and similar states. Basically, we want to protect the children and families that are the fabric of this community, and I think that support from the City Council on this in any way would be an amazing step toward that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have to get back to you with some of that information. So if you can do this contact information.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Loki. I'm from 404 7th Avenue. This is my first meeting, so getting used to it. I was not knowing what I was gonna see today, but after seeing this, I mean, I live on 7th Ave. I have my neighbors. I know everyone on my block. I've been here for about 5 years. I have a friend with a balcony that Amy were talking about that's facing on 7th Ave with the mural. I live on the same facing side of my building, and I do have a bigger building next to me, but it's about 40 to 50 feet in between us. I still get a lot of sunlight blockage, and I'm fortunate to not have full blockage, but I'm just thinking that the value of like living there is going to go down. The value of these houses are going to go down. Just think about the people who are already established there, who already paid their rent. It's all going to be an option, but yeah, that's my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm 209 6th Avenue, Flooring. I've never been on this part before, only grandma, so it's really cool here. But I also wanted to mention that my family's been here for almost 70 years, and I had the pleasure of living with my grandmother for 3. I was 8, and ever since I've been born, and even coming here for the remainder of my life, I've never seen solution. I've only seen just ever-growing useless evolution, and I think that my mom has told me countless times that she used to see a view from where we are today. We're blocks away from the beach. I understand that we are a tourist town. We have to do all this fun stuff. We are not LA. We're not Miami. We can't afford this. And also, is this building going to be affordable for anybody? Honestly, I just want to know that. And I really have trouble with parking as everybody else. I really like this was built. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Holly Shilda. I'm representing Asbury Park and Blue Trees Coalition. I just wanted to say hello, thank you. Most of you are probably here for this project, and you're probably maybe going to leave after this conversation is over. So I wanted to just bring to your attention the very last resolution, whether we're going to be talking about this again at the end of the meeting, I don't know. But the last resolution establishing and adopting the Vision Zero policy and goal for the city of Asbury Park is huge. And I just want to say thank you. It's a very big deal. If you all are not familiar with what Vision Zero means, it means not eliminating, but reducing crashes and enabling people to get around the city safely, reducing deaths and serious injuries due to crashes, and especially the impact of cars when crashes occur so that people don't die or are not seriously injured in crashes. Crashes may still occur, but designing streets so that they are no longer easy to speed on. Speeding is one of the biggest, we all are very much aware of the speeding that takes place in Asbury Park all the time. So we're redesigning and looking at the built environment so that we can make the city more walkable and rollable. So that's really all I wanted to say was thank you. I don't know how much more conversation we'll have about this today, but it is the last resolution. And again, thank you for bringing it up, and I hope you'll vote for it. It isn't just a resolution. It means that stuff has to happen, that things have to change, that building, that infrastructure has to be implemented. So I hope we'll all just go to Vision Zero Network. I think it's .org or .com. Go to apcompletestreets.org. I have a couple of cards with me, and you can read about it, read what Vision Zero means, and how you can get involved. It would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for your kind words and for your input and giving this to our attention, even though it's statewide attention. And this is going to be an action plan with community involvement to get to that Vision Zero policy where by 2020, hopefully, many years before that, we cut down and not eliminate the most serious injuries, vehicles and pedestrians.
The governor did sign a Target Zero bill, by the way, and we are following, just 2 weeks ago, that bill was signed. So any cities in New Jersey that are establishing a Vision Zero policy are going to bolster the Target Zero bill that the governor signed, meaning that the entire state will start to, we actually are one of the top states for deaths and injuries of pedestrians and bicyclists. So we want to, get rid of that statistic, and by 2040, eliminate crashes, deaths, and injuries. So it's a pretty tall order, but I think we are moving in the right direction. Thank you so much.
Again, I have to give kudos to James Banana, our transportation planner, who with short notice was able to pull this together and get something out there. And can we tweak that word? Again, the big thing about it is going to be community involvement in this by quarterly meetings that we're addressing everything. So James, great job, thank you.
Good evening. Tom Kaminsky, 1607 Emery Street. I'm the chair of the Environmental Shade Tree Commission. Two issues. One, this proposed plan here is lovely in terms of hardscape, but there's very little in terms of greenscape. I'm not exactly sure why that has been omitted, but a few trees and maybe about 1.5 foot of grass is not going to really help that area. Gabriella mentioned earlier that it's already flood prone, and that's only going to make it worse. Where's the water going to go? So I think that's an important piece to remember. And secondly, I was here several months ago, I guess it was, telling you the Shade Tree Commission no longer has a van at its disposal, And I have asked the city to look into the possibility of getting a van or a cargo van or a truck or something that the commission can use, because the weather is miserable right now, but in very few days, it's gonna be lovely. And we have no way of getting around, we have no way of taking care of our gardens, we have no way of taking care of our trees. So please remember that, thank you.
We're working on our budget, and that will be proposed in the budget, hopefully we'll be able to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Galileo, 1700 Webster Packard. It's nice to see a big crowd here tonight. This is one of, I think, 3 or 4 major projects that we're looking at on Kingsley North End. I think one of the attorneys for the Delta and a couple of other things that are here. Every time we hit one of these, to Tom's point, less trees and less green space. And I don't know if we have an answer to it. Is this going to be pet friendly? This building here, 90 some odd units again. I don't know if it's answered or not. I believe the other 2 that have been approved are pet friendly. There's no grass.
That's a great point.
That's
a really great point.
Good. So I was here for every time I come. I don't even own a dog. So I'd like the consideration for more green space, more grass, helps the runoff, helps the heat. So whether we're at 0 variance and we talk about, the 5 feet, again, this is 6 feet. So let's consider where our buildings are placed, how tall they're placed, the impact of the shade and the lack of grass, and help the dogs out, all right?
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard? Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we go on, Michelle, I got to ask you a question. You don't know the answer. No problem with business. I should have thought of it beforehand. Not on this project, on all projects. I'm guessing a shade study wasn't done, because if I lived here and my house was like this, I got to go next to me, I got my tomato garden in the back, I ain't growing tomatoes. So can we answer, or should we answer anything? What's the recommendation?
If the council would feel more comfortable with a shade study, you can ask the proposed developer for one.
Okay, I think we help anything, not just with this project, but every project going forward, just because shade. I want to keep the house that you sort of live next to me, I'm going to be in the dark the rest of my life, so. So, again, not a big one.
Thank you.
I think something we should have for everyone here on that. Thank you.
And then just a quick question, Kevin, you have Asbury Park luxury apartments, are these apartments or not?
They're not, the name is confusing, but it's Asbury, it's full, for sale units. And that is actually a requirement of the, customer developer, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's your next question.
No, I wanted to thank you, for giving us some time, I wanted to thank you, members of the public who come out, I appreciate their commitment to the city. And again, just in closing, I would say thank you, and our plan, our proposal is largely consistent. I know people are concerned with use, density, height, and storage, they do comply, and I know there's a lot of concern about that front setback. Again, we comply, in fact, it's less consistent with the plan. But I appreciate these comments. Deputy Mayor Quinn, we're going to get you that information on the floor to ceiling heights. Give us a couple days to get that information. And Mr. Mayor, I will speak to the client regarding the request for a shade study, so that if we do go to the planning board, and when we do go to the planning board, we can have that so that everyone, public and planning board members can have that information, because it's a fair question.
Great, deeply appreciate that.
And also, we should please make sure that you send the information to all of us. If you're listening to the mayor as well, presenting.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I should have implied that, but yes, good point. Anything we submit, we'll go through the clerk's office, and Michelle's office, and make sure everybody gets it. Thank you.
Okay, just a question, Michelle. Procedure. Now,
Well, now,
This doesn't just automatically go to the plan board without.
We'd have to vote. Let's just say you make changes, then it would come to us to vote, to go to planning.
No, that was show.
Okay, that's part two. The next part is an SBA, subsequent result. And if so desired, and in a resolution that adopts the SBA, also sends it to the planning board, review of the rezone and entity authorizing it to go forward. I would say, if you are interested in a shadow study and the proposed developer is agreeing to it, that they do it sooner rather than later. They do it now.
But I just want everybody to know, myself to know, like, this is not going to the planning board until we vote
Correct.
on. Okay, thanks.
And then, Mr. Mayor, this is the vote that we would come to, or? I'm sorry, is it a vote that we would come to, that we notice for, or?
No, so the next part is ironing out details in the SBA about this project. So that is the next step, and, yes, of course, it would be a public meeting here, and that if going, at that point, the resolution adopting an SBA and then referring it to the planning board. That's the, in the development steps for the waterfront, that is the next step.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a good evening.
We're now on to the minutes, the executive.
Just wait a couple minutes for everybody to leave. So we can have-
I ask you all to take the conversations outside, please, so we can proceed.
Yeah, I know, your house, and I knew that my joke has to have. Why did I change yours? I have to think.
We're now on to the minutes, the executive meeting minutes and regular minutes of the January 29th meeting. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Beth Anderson, Councilmember Clayton, Deputy Mayor Quinn, Mayor Moore. Yes. We're now on to individual resolutions, resolution 2025-97, resolution approving payment bills.
Second.
Councilmember Beth Anderson, Councilmember Clayton, Deputy Mayor Quinn, Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-96, resolution approving special event applications. Councilmember Beth Anderson, Councilmember Clayton, Deputy Mayor Quinn, Mayor Moore. Yes. Resolution 2025-98, resolution authorizing the transfer of appropriation reserves in the fiscal year 2024 budget. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Beth Anderson, Councilmember Clayton, Deputy Mayor Quinn, Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-99, resolution amending temporary budget appropriations for 2025 budget.
Second.
Councilmember Beth Anderson, Councilmember Clayton, Deputy Mayor Quinn, Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-78, resolution ratifying Superior Officers Association Local Number 6 of Patrols Benevolent Association with the State of New Jersey, union contract. Councilmember Beth Anderson, Councilmember Clayton, Deputy Mayor Quinn, Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-100, resolution authorizing the purchase of a thickener transfer pump needed at the wastewater treatment plant.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-101, resolution also authorizing the annual renewal of the bill.
Move it.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-102, resolution authorizing an annual boiler service agreement with Superior Central Boiler. Councilmember Bez Anderson. Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-103, resolution authorizing an agreement with Mass Recycling for the processing and disposition of recyclable materials.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-104, resolution authorizing agreement with JCPM.
Move it.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-105, resolution authorizing a professional service contract for state police accreditation and maintenance.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
No.
Mayor Moore.
No.
Resolution 2025-106, resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Asbury Park determining the development of affordable housing for the project known as the Lamora Family Community and Education Center will address an existing need in the city of Asbury Park for home program financing. Lot 802, lots 1 through 3 and 5, 1200 and 1210 Springwood Avenue, and 39 and 43 Athens Avenue.
I have a question.
Move it.
Second.
Question.
Question. So where, what is the location?
You know where the turf club is?
Yes.
They have very large turf.
Okay, and how many units are
Eight.
Oh.
Eight.
8 affordable units.
84 units.
And is it, when you say affordable?
Yeah.
When you say affordable, is it very low, moderate, or workforce?
There'll be little moderate units, 2 of which will be compliant with the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls incredible to the city of Asbury.
I didn't hear the last part.
So all the units will be affordable for low to moderate income households, 2 of which will be compliant with UHAC and therefore credible to the city of operation.
We also moved their headquarters from 800 block to 4 here. We also put it in as a department.
Are you asking for a pilot?
No.
And the affordable units, is it going to be for 30 years?
We're seeking affordable housing construction subsidies right now via the home program. The HUD requirement is for affordability period of 20 years. The 2 units that will be credible to the city of Asbury Park will pull in UHAC, which would make the affordability period 30 years for those 2 units. Uniform Housing Affordability Controls for the state of New Jersey.
Thank you.
Roll call.
All right, Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-107, resolution appointing municipal housing liaison.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
I have a question. Is this, for this position, are we hiring someone for this?
That's the city clerk.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Councilmember Bez Anderson. Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes, I love it. This is the city clerk. Right?
Yes, city clerk, that's correct. Resolution 2025-108, resolution establishing and adopting Vision Zero policy and goal for the city of Asbury Park.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We're now moving on to ordinances for introduction. Ordinance 2025-5, ordinance of the city of Asbury Park amending and supplementing chapter 4 entitled General Licensing of the Code of the City of Asbury Park to amend special event fees with a public hearing date of February 26, 2025. Do we have a motion?
Move it.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We're now moving on to ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 2025-1, ordinance amending the 1201 Memorial Drive redevelopment plan for a property located at 1201 Memorial Drive.
Motion is tabled.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
The ordinance has been tabled to the February 26th meeting. Ordinance 2025-2, ordinance of the City of Asbury Park and the County of Monmouth, the State of New Jersey, providing for the special assessment of the cost of certain wastewater, stormwater, roadway, streetscape, utility, and other infrastructure improvements on block 4306, lots 1 through 8, 200, 210 8th Avenue, 201, 209 7th Avenue, and 1604 West Street. On the city tax map, which are located within the City of Asbury Park, waterfront redevelopment area, and establishing a mechanism for payment of the cost thereof.
Move it.
Motion to table.
Oh, move it. Second.
I have a motion
I'm
to
not
table
going
first,
last.
second. All right. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
The ordinance has been tabled to the February 26th meeting. Ordinance 2025-3, ordinance of the City of Asbury Park authorizing the execution of financial agreement with Cape Cod Landings Delta at Asbury Park Urban Renewal LLC concerning property located at block 4306, lots 1 through 8, 200, 210 8th Avenue, 201, 209 7th Avenue, and 1604 West Street on the city tax map within the Asbury Park waterfront redevelopment area, granting a tax exemption.
Move to table.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
The ordinance has been tabled to February 26th meeting. Ordinance 2025-4, ordinance amending the redevelopment plan for 1001 First Avenue, City of Asbury Park, Monmouth County, block 401, lots 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Move to table. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore. Yes. The ordinance has been tabled to the February 26th meeting. If that is all for tonight, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.